Chris, there's something, and this is going to become a recurring segment, I've got a feeling, on this podcast, and that is one Mr. Dylan Raiola.
Woo! Let's go.
He just canceled. This is breaking news here. We've got some breaking news. This happened a couple days ago. He canceled a trip to Georgia. Now, we spoke on this a little bit as far as this Dylan Raiola kid was concerned. It looked like it was coming down between Georgia and Nebraska. Now, all of a sudden, a couple days after we put a clip out there, the young man said, no, hey, we're going to cancel that trip later on in the summer, and we're just going to go to Nebraska. Right now, there's a lot of schools that are kind of emerging on it. From what I've heard on this, Chris, it looks like because of Todd Monken, who's the offensive coordinator at Georgia, I believe he was the one that was primarily recruiting him.
Correct.
To come to Georgia. He leaves, and then the Mike Bobo, all that rapport went with him, it seems as if. So I think this is all setting up for – I think this is really setting up for him to make a decision sooner rather than later, and it seems like he's getting serious and he's starting to narrow some schools down. What's your take on it?
My take is, I said it. I believe it was on our first fucking podcast. Maybe it was the second. I don't even remember at this point. I told you, this kid's coming to Nebraska, dude. I got some inside sources, not saying I'm anything crazy or a big name, but I've known for a while that, like, this kid truly does want to play here, especially after we got rid of Frost, right? I won't throw these people's names out there. That's not my job. But I do truly think he is coming here. Nothing against your hometown team over there, Christian. I know your wiener just shriveled up. But I do think that he is going. Obviously, you can't. I don't think the kid's just going to say, "Hey, fuck it, I'm just going to Nebraska and letting it rip right now." Right? You got to make it look like you're interested in other teams, and I think USC is one of those teams. I will say Oregon is probably one of those teams. I believe he's from Arizona, so you're kind of got that Pac-12 thing working. But I do think he's coming here, man. I truly do, and I said that if you guys watched it might have been actually it was the last podcast. I'm hyped on this kid. I really don't have much more to say on him. I'm not surprised that he pulled out from Georgia. I think it was I think you even brought it up too, Christian. You kind of said it was like, well, Georgia right now is kind of like your top employer, right? They're like the biggest company in the world right now. You guys come off the back-to-back. I think you got to kind of throw your name in that mix, make them think. And maybe they knew, hey, we really don't have a shot at this kid, but hey, we're looking at him. And you guys got to look at him, right? You guys lost Stetson Bennett. You would love to have him. And I'm not saying he might not flip-flop and change his attitude about this either. I mean, we know how this goes, and the college football recruiting now is like throwing a dart at a dartboard right now on kids. So, but me personally, I'll stick with what I said on the podcast before this. He's coming here, man. And from my sources, I truly believe them. They've been realists since time began with me. I think he's coming here. Go ahead.
I think you're exactly right. I think this is all, again, everything I know, and again, we're not experts or anything like that, but everything I know in this is all setting up to be a situation where it's just driving his NIL valuation up. It's kind of like dating two people at one time, not getting to the point where you put a label on it, but you're talking to two people, but you're not being quiet about it, if that makes sense. You're going out on dates with them, you're posting photos, you're driving your valuation up. And that's exactly what this kid's doing, I think. Now, he is also doing something very smart. I like it. I think he respects Georgia. He respects Kirby and them enough to pretty much say, hey, listen, you guys are pursuing other quarterbacks in this class. I'm not going to stop you from doing that because you guys have been real with me. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not there, and the interest isn't there anymore. I'm ready. You guys haven't made the cut. So he's making the best use of his time, and really he's doing the right thing by Georgia and letting them know ahead of time. He's not doing that whole song and dance where he's keeping them strung along. Now, this is where it gets interesting, I think, with it is right now the two suitors for him is Nebraska and USC. The thing is, do you think, is there a little bit inside of you? Is there anything leading you to say, hey, maybe USC, and I hate to even go here, this becomes a bidding war between the two programs?
It does, if you put it that way. and maybe I'm biased. I'm not a big Lincoln Riley fan, right? But the kid,
Right.
the kid, I shouldn't call him a kid. He's just a young coach. He can fucking recruit, dude. I mean, he brought a lot of people from Oklahoma over to USC, did he not?
He did.
He did, and they. I mean, God, you brought it up. I think on his last week's podcast, right? Caleb Williams' numbers. I mean, they're pretty impressive. Won a Heisman Trophy, right? I see that end of the spectrum where it looks like, damn, I mean, I can get myself a Heisman with this guy. This guy has produced some quarterbacks, guys that are in the NFL, high names. I get it. I just think this kid is grounded enough to know better. And I'm not trying to be an advocate. Like I said, I'm not a fucking college football expert or a recruiting expert, but I still think it comes down to Nebraska, and I think he ultimately chooses us. I think a lot of that has to do with his dad, the family history. Don't get me started on Joe Burrow because I go down that road. It makes me cry almost. But I think we have a really, 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 really strong shot at landing this kid. And I just don't see Lincoln Riley pulling him from us. And if I'm wrong, I'll stand up here and admit it every fucking podcast from here on out. But I guess I just don't have a lot to say on it, Christian, as far as like I said it on the last podcast, man. I truly think this kid is coming here. I think Nebraska's football is important to him.
I think it is too. I think it's bigger than money. I really do. It is tempting. Big numbers to note here, as Chris likes to always point out. I'm a stat whore. But big numbers to note here is USC not just USC, but Lincoln Riley, 3 Heisman winners, if I'm not mistaken. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and last year, Caleb Williams. Yep. Another note to throw out here, 0. As a number of playoff wins under his belt as a college football coach. So I think those are all statistics that we have to keep in mind here. As we look to wrap this up here, and again, I'm sure the summer will go on. I think the kid's going to make a decision sooner rather than later. I think this is setting up to. He's starting to make that decision probably. If I had to guess, he's probably going to make the decision before the season starts, his actual season.
I would agree. He's got 1 full year of high school left yet. You know what I mean? But I think he's finally got to probably the point where he's like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to ride or die. It kind of knows what, if there's any program, Christian, that he knows better from his outside sources, whether it's his dad, his uncle, everybody, it's Nebraska. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They know, me and you know this, and I'm not going to bring up names, but you know what I'm talking about? Like, he does know what's going on within the program more than me and you know what I mean? Or with Nebraska, let's be honest.
Yeah. We know, and that's the big thing too. This is going to come as no shock. I'll do a shot with you on air when he commits. We'll make it a drinking game. Every time we bring up Dylan Raiola, we'll take a shot.
Yeah.
Until he commits.